Hey friends! I'm back with the third video in my series where I'm talking to you about how we homeschool autism, how we do our therapies at home. And this video is all about physical therapy. So physical therapy is just what it sounds like. It's kind of like personal training, but from a medical perspective. In my son's case anyways, my son has hypotonia, so he has very low muscle tone, which means that he has to work a lot harder to get the same amount of strength as a typical peer might get from the same activity. It also means he gets tired a lot easier, so we have to work a lot on his endurance and his stamina. And one of the features of autism is having a hard time with coordination and motor planning. So all of those things are targeted by doing certain activities in physical therapy. And what I have here is a giant basket full of the stuff that we use to do PT at home. Now, some of this stuff is stuff that we already had as part of just doing like PE type stuff at home or stuff that we just played with. But a lot of this stuff I had to get when we transferred over to telehealth because of the pandemic. So a lot of these things are things that I never had to own because he had access to them at the therapy center where he usually does his physical therapy. But now that we're hunkering down, staying at home, and have been for a few months, our PT does our sessions over telehealth. So she basically tells me what to do, and then I have my son do it, and she kind of guides me to make sure that I'm positioning him correctly and that he's doing everything pretty much the way that he'd be doing it if she was in the room with us so that he doesn't get hurt. Very important. And it is quite a few things, but we do use most of these things every single session. So it's a lot, but it's definitely getting its use. First thing I've got here is a kickball, and we use this for, believe it or not, kicking. So we set up goals, and I'll show you how I do that later, but we set up goals so that he could kick in a specific direction, and we have to work on our strength because we want the ball to bounce off the wall, for example, and come back to us, etc. The idea being that he has a visual cue of, oh, okay, I did it right because the ball came back. You know what I mean? So that's something that sets him up for success. The biggest struggle that we have with PT is getting him to understand the directions because, again, motor planning is a challenge. But once he gets it, he's a whiz at most things, and he actually shocks me at how quickly he picks certain things up and how strong he is. I really have to get better about underestimating my kid because he's kind of incredible. Anyways, I digress. We also use this ball for strengthening exercises, so it's very light. So this ball itself does not act as a weight or anything, but for example, we have him do Supermans, and that's supposed to help engage the core, engage his back. But if we let him, he'll put his hands down and just basically do a push-up or, you know, whatever, a million other ways that he might distract himself. So I hand him the ball, and now that his hands are busy, he has nothing to do but just lift his body up and down the way he's supposed to do a Superman. So it acts as much as a distraction as anything else, but that's helpful, that's useful in this situation. We have yoga blocks, and the yoga blocks are basically used more as like visual cues or barriers than anything else. We don't do any actual yoga in PT. I know some people might, but not in our program. But these are in here as well because, like I said, we use them, for example, to jump over or for him to know where he's supposed to kick the ball in between the two blocks, etc. These little circles are great. They're just foam circles, and speaking of visual cues, we use these a lot for that. So if I want him to do a lunge, I might put one forward and one back, and that's where each of your feet are supposed to go. Or if I want him to hop from one side to the other, if I want him to dribble the ball, but I want it to stay in this one place, we use these several times a session in several different ways. Probably the most versatile thing we have in our kit. Speaking of dribbling, this is my son's new favorite thing. He absolutely loves playing with the basketball. He is a genius at it, actually. Like, I am shocked at how talented he is with this. We're teaching him to do jump squats because you need that skill to be able to shoot the ball appropriately. He's great at dribbling, and most of all, he really enjoys it. The PT, actually, it's really funny. She sees in him a talent, I guess, that I otherwise might have missed. So she's kind of taken him on as her little project, and I think she hopes that soon he might be able to join the team. I mean, all things considered, who knows when that'll happen. But that's fantastic to know that somebody believes in my kiddo that much that they aspire to something on his behalf. So yeah, basketball's a big deal around here these days. And speaking of, one of the things that she has him do is we blindfold him and we have him dribble that way. And that sounds kind of crazy, but it's really good for coordination because he has to just know, based on how the ball feels, where he has to go next to keep it in control. So yeah, that's another fun one. And that's actually kind of huge too, that he even allows this to happen. That's how much he likes basketball, where he's like, you're gonna put something on my face? I'll allow it. Jump rope. Jump rope is a big one that we use for a lot of things. Of course, for jumping rope, first off, which is great exercise, great for coordination, but also we like to lay it flat, and now it's something that he can jump back and forth across, whether it's side to side or front and back. We use it to like mark barriers if we want him to maybe dribble around something or kick the ball around something, etc. Painter's tape. Again, this is something that is useful for marking off barriers, marking off where you want somebody to stand, for example, or I might use it to affix those dots either to a spot on the floor so that they don't move, or I sometimes even affix them to the couch if I want him to have something to aim at when he's doing chest presses, for example, or whatever. It's like, okay, touch the dot, but the dot's not going to stay on the couch by itself. So this is also an extremely versatile thing to have in our PT kit. It's also something as simple as just laying down a straight line across the tile and having him walk on it. Balance, coordination, and all you needed was tape. We have resistance bands, which we use in a number of ways, obviously for resistance, but we put them around his hips. When he walks, we put them around his chest, and he does this funny thing. Well, it's not really funny, but we put it around his chest and then his arms go inside and he uses it kind of like a chest press. So it's like, imagine if you had dumbbells and you were doing this, except doing it this way, we don't have to worry about dumbbells accidentally slipping and falling and hitting him in the face. So very cool. Speaking of weights, we have all sorts of weighted balls, and these also come in handy for a lot of things. When we're doing squats, when we're doing presses, and because it's a ball, it's easier to hold. But for wall sits, like pretty much anything where you would need weights, we have these balls, and each one is a different weight. So that's 1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound, etc. And we have them all the way up to 6 pounds, which we rarely use because my son weighs like 55 pounds or something. So I kind of draw the line at the 4 pound mark because I don't ever want him lifting anything more than 10% of his body weight. But it exists because it comes in a set. We've got a tennis ball and a little bouncy like racket ball, and we use these for catch. We use them to roll. We'll roll them to different sides and he has to like pay attention to what side it's going to and catch it, roll it back. So we're working on his visual acuity, we're working on his coordination again. That's a big theme around here. So for the last few things, we have a yoga mat, and we do this obviously for all our floor activities. It helps that he doesn't slip on it, so that's very important. And he loves doing activities with the yoga mat. I don't know what it is about it that like makes things feel more special or something, but he's always really excited when the yoga mat comes out. We have a set of balance beams, and we also use these a lot in every session. Actually, I bought 2 sets. Each set comes with 4 of these planks and 4 of these bricks. So the bricks stack up, and you can do just 1, you can do all 4 on either side, and then it also has the ability to do either 1 plank or 2 across to make it thicker so it's easier to step on. And obviously that's all going to depend on what are you using them for. So you might use them for balance, so just make one really long train and then walk from one end to the other, so you have to work on toe to heel walking. Or you can use the 2 planks side by side, stack them all the way up and do like box jumps. Extremely versatile. That's why we got the 2 sets, so that we could do more with them. But the PT actually loves them because she didn't have these at the center, and she's coming up with all sorts of new ways for us to use them every single time. And the last thing in our physical therapy kit is our giant peanut ball. And this is used a lot for balance activities. My son does planks on it and reverse crunches and all sorts of core work, but it's also a great sensory tool. So he sits on it and he bounces, and it's a lot of fun to release relieve some stress before we have to get down to the nitty-gritty of work, and so it's a very versatile thing for us to have. We love an MVP. So that's most of the stuff that we use in our physical therapy sessions here at home. I hope this video was helpful in case you're trying to start physical therapy at home, or if maybe you haven't been able to access your physical therapy since the quarantine started. In any case, I hope this gives you some ideas, and if you have any ideas for us to incorporate into our program, I'd love to hear them, so please leave me a comment. And I also hope that you'll check out the other videos in this series. I already did one about occupational therapy at home and another on speech therapy at home, and I'm constantly putting out other homeschool and therapy type videos, so if that's the sort of thing that interests you, I hope you'll stick around and subscribe. So I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I hope you'll please give it a big thumbs up. I'd also love it if you would subscribe and click that notification bell, because I post at least 3 times a week and I wouldn't want you to miss a minute. Thanks so much again for watching. Bye!